It's the end of term and you have 3 assignments and 2 tests in the next 3 days. You're probably pretty stressed about it. You should be working, but all you want to do is crawl into a ball and eat a whole pizza. We need strategies to deal with stress so we don't get sick, overwhelmed, and sad. Some stress is actually good for us, but we need strategies to deal with it in a healthy way so we can be optimally productive and even happy while we work through it. I'm Miss Bailey, I'm a guidance counselor, and today I'm going to teach you some strategies to be less sad, stressed, and overwhelmed. In other words, I'm going to teach you about wellness. Okay, when I Googled wellness, here are some of the images that came up. Now, although yoga and massages and couples bike rides are all really great, there are more practical things you can do every day to be well, and they're easy. First, let me get something straight. You can have a mental illness and be well if you have the right strategies to manage your illness. And you can have no mental illness and be unwell if you don't have the right strategies to cope when stress comes along. We can't control the occurrence of mental illness, but we can be productive in optimizing our mental wellness. So to think about resilience, I want you to think about an Erlenmeyer flask. The flask is your resilience, the orange goop is your stress level. You can see when the orange goop gets close to the top, it's easy to overflow and lose control. It's a lot easier to keep the orange goop level down than it is to mop up the overflow. Everyone has a different size flask, although you can work to make yours bigger. The most important thing is to empty your flask regularly and consistently. And this can be done in small ways every day. Resilience is maintained when we proactively do things to keep our stress levels at bay. Little things every day, so that when it gets to crunch time, you're not overwhelmed. If at this point you're thinking, I have no stress, I don't need this, then you're doing it wrong. Everyone should have some level of stress and anxiety in their work. Otherwise, you're at the wrong level of challenge, or you're not challenging yourself enough. I have a question. What recharges you? These are the things that are going to empty out your orange stress goop. And I'm talking about simple things. Write those things down so that you know what you can do every day to make some room in your flask of resilience. There are 4 big things that we need to establish in order to have an optimal level of wellness. And these will be the most effective at lowering stress levels. So think about the 4 categories when you're thinking about what recharges you. First, relationships. Actively build your friendships, invest in your family, and if you're religious like me, spend time in prayer. The second thing you can do is pay attention to your health. Sleep. Eat well. Get treatment for your illnesses. People who try to pull all-nighters and have a coffee drink for breakfast should not wonder why they're feeling stressed about something, because they're not paying attention to their health. The third thing you can do is have an engaged school or work life. What do I mean by that? Are you engaged in your job responsibilities, not just doing them, but really pouring yourself into them? Are you plugged into your school community? How can you be better engaged? How can you be more actively involved in things that you enjoy at school or work? Or how can you make those things happen? Could you take on leadership or join a club or team? This may seem like it adds more stress and more responsibilities, but in fact, it works to reduce your stress and build resilience. The last big thing you can do, it seems counterintuitive, but it's volunteer for a cause or a community. Seeking out ways to give back and help others may seem like it takes a lot of your time away, but it's one of the very best scientifically proven ways to build your resilience and your happiness level. You will be better equipped to deal with stress and work overloads when you regularly help others with your time, money, and skills. Once you have these things established, I have some tips for maintaining your wellness, specifically in the place that takes up most of your time, school or work. You can do this through PERMA, which is based on 30 years of psychology research, pioneered by a professor at the University of Pennsylvania named Martin Seligman. If you want to know more about PERMA than what I have in this video, you can take a look at some of the links below for Martin Seligman's positive psychology research and more on PERMA. PERMA is really the trick to wellness at school or work. It stands for positive emotions, engagement, relationships, meaning, and achievements. Positive emotions. Your overall wellness and resilience increases through positive emotions. Even if you're not a positive person, the following tricks can retrain your brain to think more positively and be more well. It's really easy. Just write down or share with a friend 3 positive things that happened in the day, every day. 3 highlights, 3 per day. It shouldn't be that hard because it should actually feel good to do. After a couple weeks of this, it'll become natural. It's a habit. Eventually, you'll start thinking of them as they happen. Flask emptied, no effort required. If you're the partner or friend of somebody who's having difficulty with this, ask them supportive and constructive questions like, what could you do differently tomorrow to make your experience more positive? What could you do for your classmates to make their experience more positive? And when they do have something positive, ask, what might you do tomorrow to make that kind of experience happen again? Next is E, Engagement. What parts of your work or school life can you really immerse yourself in? Class, a club, an initiative, a volunteer experience, mentorship of younger students? How do you take your own values and things that you know empty your flask and infuse them into an engaged work or school life? Bring others into your experiences through relationships. Actively build relationships at school or work, with your teachers or supervisors, with your peers through mentorship. Get to know them, ask about their day, laugh with them. Meaningful relationships within your work or school environment will help you to maintain wellness in those places. Meaning in the PERMA model means belonging to and serving something bigger than yourself. Selfish ambition is a surefire way to feel less well. So what can you make meaningful in your experience? What is noble, praiseworthy, good, excellent, significant? And how can you pour yourself into that to make your own experience more meaningful and also add meaning to the experiences of others? And finally, to be well, maintain resilience, and cope with stress, you need accomplishments. I don't mean awards or distinctions. I mean you need to work towards personal goals and gather people around you who can encourage you towards them. If you're struggling with goal setting, watch my video on how to set goals or how to plan for anything. If you're struggling with the self-esteem to think about accomplishments, then watch my video on self-esteem. If you're a teacher or a supervisor, this also means you're actively working to observe and acknowledge the accomplishments of those that you're supervising. So that's PERMA. Watch the video again, write it down, talk about it with your support system, and strategize ways that you can do this every day. Finally, if you are struggling with a mental illness, please talk to a guidance counselor or mental health professional. So be proactive, remember to keep emptying your resilience flask a little bit every day, engage in PERMA, and find people to gather around you to help encourage you in those goals. Thanks for watching.